I'll give you a quick summary as to why I left. When I was around 19 years old, like I knew a little bit about a few prayers about my religion. And then a couple of doors down, we had a couple. They had a child. The child had a little bigger head. They had a genetic issue. When the child was about 6 months old, the child died. That affected me, and I started to question God. And that's when I started to read the scriptures to find the answers as to what is going on. And after reading the scriptures, I realized that at least the religion that I am in, well, even though the poetry was good, but it's man-made. But I still believe that there was a God. So I kind of left the religion, but not the God. I was deist for a while. And then after a long and hard thought, I realized that there is no evidence. There's no evidence of a God. And so that's where I am today.
Do you have any children now?
Oh, I got two children. I got two daughters.
Yeah, I'm
They're
very
all.
sorry to hear about your other child. That's very sad.
No, that wasn't my child. That was a neighbor.
Oh, it was not. Oh, it was a neighbor. Okay.
No, that's right in my couple of doors down
Okay, I
when I
misunderstood.
was 19.
Yeah, in Islam, there's like even the concept we have of when a child he dies when he's young, then this child actually will be a means of intercession for the parents on the day of judgment, for the Muslim parents. For example, if there's parents who they did sins and they did bad deeds on the day of judgment, these children, there's some narrations that Allah will tell them go and enter Jannah. So then they'll say, but where are our parents? So then the angels will tell them as they're ushering them into paradise, into Jannah, that no, your parents are not like you. They did many sins, and because of that, they're not going to paradise yet. So then what they'll say, these children, they will cry out upheaval, right? Cause an uproar, and they'll scream, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, like, okay, who is, and Allah knows everything. He'll say, who are these children? Where is the sound coming from? The angels, they say that, these are those children of the Muslims, and they're crying that, where are our parents? We won't go to paradise without them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them, like, go to those people who are entering the hellfire from their parents, and these children, they will take their parents and take them to paradise. They'll actually be a source of intercession for them, and they will drag, the Prophet ﷺ said, they will hold you with your clothes the way I'm holding you with your clothes now. So these children, even, they will be a source of intercession. And subhanAllah, I was reading Imam Ghazali's Ihya Ulumuddin yesterday, and one of the reasons, there's many reasons to get married. One is to break your carnal desires. One is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an internal perspective, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah wants us to marry, to have children. One reason is actually that if a person marries and he has a child who dies at a young age, then this child will actually be a means of intercession for me, right? So we don't see that this life, like the end of this life, as the end of everything. No. So even if there are some difficulties that happen in this life, all of us go through difficulty. We can see around the world, right? But if you understand that, look, there's more to this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or our creator, he has a wisdom, right? He has a reason why he did this. Then this is not, even us, we don't understand this world as a place where things are meant to be perfect, right? This is not meant to be paradise. Rather, it's promised to us that we're going to face hardship. Like Allah says in the Quran, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً, that certainly we will test you with good and bad, a testing, right? So in this world is, things are going to happen, and we're going to be tested with very difficult things, and so that's part of it.
Safe to say that there are certain things that we have to understand in order to understand what we may refer to as pain or hardships and things like that, and that is that Allah, God, is all wise. That's number one. When you run into a hardship or a difficulty, or you see some catastrophe, first of all, logically, that doesn't disprove God. It shouldn't lead to atheism, because it just means that there is a God who allows this to happen. But why he allows it to happen, we shouldn't jump to conclusions and say what we think. We rely and we refer it back to his ultimate wisdom and plan for the universe and the people. So I'm more curious to find out what led you towards atheism directly. I understand that this shook your faith, but what was it that led you towards atheism? You said that it was a lack of evidence for God. And just coming at this from a Muslim perspective, we say that just about the existence of everything is in evidence for the existence of God. So just curious how you see the existence of everything. That what does the existence of all things prove to you?
Well, just to give a brief comment, what the other gentleman said before. If I was to personalize what he said, like I have got two daughters. If, let's say, one of my daughter died the same way as my neighbor's kid, I prefer to have my daughter alive than to make her the means of me going to paradise. If I want to go to paradise, I want to go on my own merits. So I disagree with the God's decision to take away my child so I can go to heaven. So this is why I do not believe that such a creator exists. Now, as you have said, how do I explain the universe? It's a very mysterious place, and I have given it a lot of thought. And I basically I have decided to make my own reason what I should do in the world, a personal reason that is important to me.
I mean,
What do you think?
the kind of logic about, well, bad things happen, therefore there is no God, or I don't want to believe in God. I never understood that kind of problem of evil because it works both ways. You have people who are committing atrocities, they're killing children by the tens of thousands. And what consequence is that for them? Are they just going to live their lives of wealth, of luxury, even though they're committing these atrocities, and then they die and that's it? Like, that's actually the kind of attitude that evil people have. They want to commit all kinds of crimes and enjoy themselves on earth with no accountability, and they want to just die and be turned to dust. Like, that's actually what the Quran says, that they wish that they were just dust, like that once they die, their bodies decay, and that's the end of it. There is no accountability, there's no day of judgment. Everyone can just be confident that when they die, there's no more afterlife. Why doesn't the existence of evil actually serve a problem for the atheists? It seems like the atheists have an even bigger problem with evil as opposed to the believers, because we, as Sheikh Asadullah and Musab just said, that there is accountability. Like, any kind of harm that you suffer in this life, such as losing a child or other kinds of difficulties, God is going to recompense you. God is going to account for that in the afterlife. You will be rewarded for your patience. You will be rewarded for your faith despite those difficulties. So the problem of evil is not really a problem for Islam or even other religions. It's a problem for those who deny the afterlife or deny God.
Well, yeah, my response to this argument is, if Creator says that He is all-knowing and all-seeing, then I put the blame on the God. I mean, a person is committing atrocities, killing a lot of people. If the God sees it and doesn't stop it, well, then either He's not all-seeing or He's not all-knowing. So that's where that goes, an argument. Now,
But
as a
how
believer,
does that
just one second,
logically?
just one
Yeah.
second. As a believer, I can live my life thinking that further down in the line, that guy will be punished in hell. It doesn't do me any good. That's my response to that argument.
What do you mean
Okay,
it
so just
doesn't
on
do
the
you any
first
good?
point,
It's like injustice is being recompensed. Injustice is being punished. What do you mean it doesn't do you any good?
Like if somebody kills my daughter, he goes to jail. I don't. That's not, to me. It's not justice.
So you
Even if
want your
even if
daughter's killer
but
to just run
but
free?
it would
You
be
want your
equally
daughter
okay
killer
for
to
him
be free?
to.
well,
Yeah.
I have to live. I'll have to live with my life, and perhaps find my own ways to get out of my sorrow and live my life.
So you
That's
don't
how I
even
see
want
it.
you don't want even the killer of your daughter to be in prison because it
Well,
does you no good.
no. I mean, it's just not that I don't want it, but I don't think it
Why do
justifies.
you want it? Why do you want
Yeah.
it?
Why do you want it?
I'd like to see that killer in jail, so he could not. He's unable to commit this crime again. So even if they kill it, I support the death punishment. I think this person should
For
be
the death
killed
penalty.
Why?
rather than live on my money.
What if he promises and he shows that he's going to be a good citizen and he won't kill again?
Well, no, if the law says that he's dead, if he says he's going to be a good citizen, that I will not take that word for him and risk
Or
him back in the
or
society.
what about this example? There's a new technology that they invent. It's a pill that a person can take and he'll be completely non-violent. So he
Well,
just takes this pill, he'll never kill again. He'll never kill.
that'll
But he
be okay
killed
by
your
me.
daughter. He killed your daughter, and he like brutally tortured her. Like, I don't mean to speak about your children, but imagine someone else brutally killed, and then they just take a pill and that's it. They go on living their lives. Are you fine with that, or do you want that killer
I,
to be punished? You want them to suffer for the suffering that they inflicted on your child?
well, I still have the sorrow, but that will be okay by me. At least now I'm not paying to keep him in the jail. But like there's a
You're
book
just
that I
fine with
read.
him. You're just fine with him living his life, just going on. He took the
How would you
pill, so
overcome the sorrow?
Well, yeah, I still have to overcome my sorrow.
How?
Uh, I have to find my own ways. I have not gone. I have not
What
not gone.
would that way look like? Just out of curiosity, because as Muslims we can say that God has in His infinite wisdom. This is part of what was written in my destiny, and I'll be recompensed, and it will all be made right in our afterlife. How would you, somebody who doesn't believe in any of that, how would you overcome that? That's why people commit suicide and things. Just
I want to just elaborate a little bit on what Daniel said. Maybe that will answer the question. I read a book called Change Your Mind, and it's about the new technology when it came in called the SPECT test. Have you heard of it, Daniel?
No.
Okay. Well, that's a technology where they send a radioactive element in your body, and it goes to different parts of your brain. And while you're like MRI is taking a picture of an engine when it's just dead, X-ray. But that actually goes to parts of your cortex and it illuminates as to what is going on in your brain. And they discovered, in simple terms, that we have two anger lobes. You must be aware of that we all humans, we have two anger lobes. That's where the anger comes in. And one of the kids, when he was very young, he had a cyst on his anger lobe that made him very angry, and the kid would never smile. Eventually, he ended up pushing a person into the train tracks. The person never died, but he could have died. Eventually, they did take the cyst out, and the person was normal. How do you reconcile these things when you read?
What's there to reconcile? Like
What's there to
people,
reconcile?
there are
I
people
mean,
who are Majnun, they're crazy, and they do things that they're not held accountable for if they have a kind of mental illness. That's part of Islam. Like that, this is not a point against Islam or the fact that they're crazy people. Yeah, we
Probably
know
any
that.
religion or any law, even in this country, if somebody is, I mean, what's the first thing they try to prove when somebody commits a crime is that they were not mentally sane. So, that's, I mean, that goes without saying, right?
Yeah, it's
There's nothing to
accounted for
reconcile.
in even the judgment system or the criminal justice system of secular states. The fact that someone is mentally unfit, that plays a part in the criminal justice system with secular states. And it's also accounted for in just the moral theology of Islam.
Yeah, but still, I hold God responsible. If he sees bad stuff going on and doesn't stop it, I would. I mean, if I see something bad going on, I would stop it. If I don't see nothing I can do.
No, but you
But
have to have a
God is worse than me.
perspective. So no, because look, there are, for example, sometimes I see my children and they're fighting or they are making a decision like that I know is not the best decision for them, but I want them to experience the consequences of that so they'll learn. They'll get that experience and that they'll grow, they'll get mature, or they'll learn some other life lesson. I could have intervened, but I didn't because I know that they're just going through a temporary stage in life and then they're going to move out of that stage and there's going to be a benefit to that. So I don't intervene. And this is analogous to the life, the dunya that we're living, that it's a temporary stage. And what we do in this stage matters for the afterlife. But any kind of harm that we suffer, or even like the worst kinds of things of being killed or being massacred or seeing, what's happening in Palestine, for example, that is, yes, from our perspective, shocking, evil, the worst kind of disaster. But from the perspective of the afterlife, this is a small blip in the entire history of our existence. We're only on this earth for a small blip, and then the rest of eternity is in the afterlife. So you're exaggerating the importance of this life. And if you have a different perspective, then it makes complete sense that God is just testing us and he's not going to intervene at every single moment to make sure that we're living in a paradise. The whole point of this life is that it's a test. It's not a paradise. It's going to be very difficult for many people. And then they will be recompensed for that in the afterlife.
And also, I think this notion.
One thing. Let me just give it. Let me just comment. Let me comment on what Daniel said. The first brief comment. Daniel, if you have one of your child has got the knife, is going to stab the other kid, are you saying I'm sure you're going to stop. You're going to stop that child. And okay, what else you were going to say?
Daniel's not God. He doesn't have the blueprint and the of the whole universe and everything that's going to happen after and before. When we talk about God, we don't use the language of God should do this and he shouldn't do this. He has unlimited wisdom. And what he would allow and not allow based on what reasons and what factors is way beyond our understanding. And I think that's where a little bit of the trust in God's knowledge and the fact that he does see everything and the fact that he does have knowledge of everything, that should make us more reassured, not blame God.
Yeah, let's see, I want to learn something from Daniel. And I think Daniel is qualified to teach me. Once I hear that, I think it's my duty to verify it, to make sure that Daniel is who he is before I take his tutelage. And I apply the same principle to God. I see what qualification God has, how much wisdom that He has, and if I believe He's not wise, I'm just not going to follow that God. And you said the God is all wise. I'm
So
saying
my
that God
is
is
that
not all
how
wise.
do you gauge the wisdom of God with our limited knowledge? Like, how can I tell the doctor or the surgeon what to do in the surgery room if I think that what he's doing is, will I just jump to judgment and say that you're a terrible surgeon because, I saw you cutting him open or something like that based on our lack of understanding? And you're talking about God here, which is
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you
completely
why I
beyond.
say that. If the Creator, the all-wise guy, there are 15 people in the room wearing white shirt and one wearing red shirt. If the all-wise God tells the people, okay, guys, all the people wearing white shirt stand up, and they stand up, the red shirt doesn't stand up, then he asks the red shirt guy, why didn't you stand up? I think that's dumb. He's not an all-wise God. Is he?
I think another thing,
I
well,
don't
what you're
understand what
doing
that
is
means.
you're turning God into like a human being. You're treating him like you would any other limited creature.
He has to be more. He has to explain why it's wise for him to ask that question, unwise question.
In
The faculty of reasoning that I have,
Mm.
and this is how I live my life.
Yeah, but the
Whether
faculty of
whether
reasoning
it comes
tell
to
you that
God,
God is all wise, and that's
But
should be enough.
we're not saying like you didn't really address the point that I made. Like the point that I made is that the analogy was that you will tolerate for your children certain situations that are uncomfortable or painful for them, but you tolerate that without intervening. You tolerate them experiencing some pain or experiencing some hardship for the sake of a larger lesson or a larger situation. That's the analogy. So
Mhm.
the response that you gave doesn't really address that underlying point, the underlying point that you will tolerate some pain for your children because you know that there is a greater reality. When
oh yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
response was, "Oh, will you allow your kid to stab his brother?" No, that's not a response because in the analogy that I used, it's not that type of situation where you have an entire afterlife or you as a parent are all knowing. That's not analogous to God. God's position vis-a-vis us as human beings. But the underlying point was that you kind of dodged is that you're willing to tolerate some pain, some hardship of your children and not intervene for the sake of making them better or for the sake of another purpose that you have. That was the only point.
Well, like I agree with your reasoning, but when as I had children growing up, I had to discipline my children in order
There you
to
go.
try to make them good citizen. And this is
There you
something
go.
I learned. This is something I learned from my parents.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, but
That's
there's the
exactly what we're
contradiction.
saying. You as a how
But,
are you a
but,
beneficent or merciful parent if you're disciplined, you're punishing your children? Why? Why are you increasing their harm? You're
but,
increasing their harm for what purpose? That
but,
makes no sense. It seems like you don't have wisdom. It sounds like you're lacking in wisdom because you're causing them pain.
And that's what your
Why?
child would say. That's what your child would say.
but like at the same token, you're extending it to the God who is perfectly fine with one guy stabbing another guy. I am not. I will stop my child if my
You're
child is
punishing.
harming my other child.
You're causing your child pain. You're
Well,
inflicting pain on your innocent child. How could you?
so be it.
So be it.
So
So
be
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 it.
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 To
So be
save my
it.
other child.
That is extremely
To
cold.
it.
That is extremely
Yes, it
cold and
is.
you're a ruthless parent. You're just
Yes, I am.
punishing these children. They're
I
innocent, and you're inflicting pain and suffering on them. All they wanted to do is just enjoy life. Why can't you give them paradise?
Yeah.
Why can't
Why
they?
put them
Why
through
can't
all
you
this
just give
I
them
hardship?
admit
candy?
it.
Just give them candy, nonstop ice cream. Why did you not do this as a parent?
And if you
Well,
don't, you're not a merciful, even though you can see and you know.
do you want to see? Do you want to read the card? I'll pull it out that my daughter gave me. What she said about me.
What did you say?
Well, let me just read it from my death box, and I'll show you the letter, and I'll tell you what
Does she
reading.
praise
And
you?
and
Does she
then
praise
you
you, or
decide.
does she praise you, or does she condemn you?
No, and then you can judge whether I was a ruthless or not. Give me
Well,
a
she came to
second.
that realization, and we feel that every
Okay.
human being will come to that realization when they
I
finally
saved the
get to.
greeting cards of my kids.
You're proving our point, actually.
No, and
Yeah.
actually, there's many people in Gaza who, after going through all this, they're still
Let,
praising Allah. They're
let
still
me turn
praising
that.
Allah.
Let me turn the external camera. How do I go the external camera? I'm gonna hold it this way. Do you see this? The front of the card
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
picture.
Happy Father's Day. Yeah, with the
Happy
puppy.
Father's. And let me see what she.
Happy Father's Day with a dog on it.
Yeah, she's not calling you a
And
dog.
and, and, and this is the writing. And let me tell you what she wrote. Dad, I just want to take this time to let you know how much I appreciate you. You have made me the strong, independent woman that I am today. Love you always.
That's very sweet, but that's what we Muslims say the same thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though He put us through a lot of trials.
That's our
Daniel,
attitude. That's exactly our attitude toward God. You're making our point for us. So
Daniel,
That should be your attitude towards God.
that's
If
the
your
result
daughter
of a
can do it for
ruthless
you, why
father.
can't you do it for God?
yeah, so
That's the result.
you
If
punished
your
your
daughter can do it for
children.
you, why can't you do it for God? I mean, that's
You punished your children. You inflicted pain on them,
and they
and
love you.
they love you. Wow,
Yeah.
interesting,
Try to
interesting.
make
That
that's the point.
Well, then I don't have to worry. I'll go to heaven regardless.
no, but you don't love
No.
God. That's the problem. You're not
No,
like
I
your
didn't
daughter.
say I
Your
love
daughter loves you. Your daughter loves you despite you
Yeah.
punishing her or putting her through some harm for her
No, Danny,
benefit. But
don't make them.
you are not. You don't have the wisdom of your daughter. Your daughter is more wise than you because she actually loves you despite you punishing her. But you don't love God despite your neighbor's child, going through hardship. That's the difference. Like you don't have the wisdom of your daughter.
Well, I only love people of my family, my wife, my neighbors. I don't know God. I don't. I've never seen God. So there's no reason for me either to love or hate. I don't
Yeah,
need it.
you have seen God. You have seen the effects. You have seen the evidence of God. The
Where
fact
does
that
the
you have
love
a
come from?
wife, the fact that you have a daughter, the fact that you even feel the emotion of love, even that is from God. You think that emotion comes from where? Like that comes from just molecules rubbing together, like in a chemical reaction? No, the feeling of love that you have, the feeling of gratefulness, all the joys that you experience with your wife and your children, that is coming from God. That is your evidence of God.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't say that.
that's what you say. My family could have been turned in dysfunctional too. There are dysfunctional families. Why doesn't God make them functional?
Okay, I think we're going in a
We're
circular.
going a circle
Okay,
here.
finally, yeah, finally, I want
We'll
to
let you
say,
have a last word, and then we're gonna move on to the next
yeah,
thing.
Yeah, we have
fi-
other callers.
hey, listen, I'm talking to my favorite student of knowledge and I. So cut me some slack, please.
No, no, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Flattery won't work here.
And,
Flattery
and,
won't
and
work.
Daniel, I resent when you said to Adnan Rashid that he can't create allies with me against Israel. I extend my hand.
That's good.
My
That's
my
good.
my my hand
The
of
atheist Wahhabi
solidarity is
coalition,
extended.
atheist Wahhabi coalition going strong. That's good to know.
Yes. Anyway,
Okay, thank you. Thank you
anyway,
for being here.
if
Talk to you
if
next time.
one thing I want to say, if God is all merciful, I have no worry for the future. Anyway, great to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye.
Allah yahdik.
I mean.
I mean.